sword beam flashed toward me, and I looked at the familiar face across from me. The one I'd raised since he was a child. He didn't recognize me, not even sparing a glance in my direction. With a blank expression, he knocked down another demon cultivator and kept moving forward without hesitation. I fell to the ground instead. Dong, dong, dong. Brother senior, little brother's back today. Won't you go meet him? The cheerful third sister stood outside the bamboo hut, tapping on my window. I instantly put on a soft, warm smile. What's there to meet? Better he doesn't come back at all. I thought that in my heart, but said out loud, "Of course I'll go." I stood up and spoke gently. "Tell your second sister to come too. We'll go together." "Got it." Third sister skipped off toward her second sister's courtyard, the bright yellow hair ribbon dancing lightly in the breeze with each bounce. I watched her retreating back, and my smile gradually faded. It's been 3 days since I came back to life, and only now do I finally start feeling like this second chance is real. In my past life, I envied little brother Benjamin. He was never as good as me at anything before, but somehow ended up better than me in every way: swordsmanship, cultivation, fame. Even the master's position that was meant for me got passed to him. I couldn't accept it, so I gave in to inner demons, fell into dark magic, and ended up dead at his hands. After death, I finally learned Benjamin was the world's destined hero, fated to rise from nothing and ascend to godhood. Meanwhile, I was just a tiny pawn on his path to glory. A disposable villain. I hated him with every fiber of my being, yet I knew deep down I had no power over him at all. Benjamin used to be sweet and obedient. Let me shape him however I wanted, but once he grew up, he turned unbearable. With his strength far beyond mine, he started bossing me around, pretending it was for my own good. If I stepped out without him, he'd scowl and grill me with questions. After I got injured by accident on one of my outings, he went full overprotective, ignoring my protests, sticking tracking charms, memory mirrors, and all sorts of weird gadgets right onto me. By then, his cultivation had long outpaced mine. No one around thought anything odd about how he hovered over me. He was just being careful, they said, but I was still stuck in the old mindset where I told him what to do and he'd obey without question. So I couldn't handle it when he started trying to control me. That sense of imbalance slowly poisoned my mind, feeding the demon within me until I developed a full-fledged inner evil spirit. After several attempts to hurt him and kick him out of the sect failed, my dark thoughts grew stronger. Eventually, before they got completely out of control and were discovered, I broke ties with him and left the sect for good. I often wonder if I'd have ended up like this if it weren't for him. It wasn't until after my death, when I saw the prophecy in the heavenly scripture, that I finally understood. Turns out he was born to be the hero, and I was fated to be nothing more than a stepping stone for him. How could I possibly not hate him? Third sister dragged her obsessed with alchemy second sister along, and I summoned a white crane from the sect that handled transport duties. By the time the three of us arrived at the star viewing terrace on the crane, the flying vessel had already landed. Benjamin and the inner sect disciples who were accompanying him were stepping off one by one. Other disciples and elders waiting on the platform all rushed over. I always said Benjamin would handle it. There's no way it wouldn't work out. That monster serpent was terrifying, but thank goodness for Brother Benjamin. You should have seen how that beast reacted when he showed up. Just one slash from him. No wonder he's so dependable. Benjamin stood there, sword in hand, unmoved by the praise around him, like a statue carved from ice and jade, devoid of emotion. Then again, he was always this emotionally detached. In the heavenly scroll I read after my death in my previous life, it said Benjamin was an immortal embryo cultivated as a weapon by 2 supreme-level immortals to fight off high-tier demons. Born without the normal emotions of a human, only driven by the will to grow stronger and kill demons. Later, when both immortal masters were killed by the demon lord, baby Benjamin ended up in a remote village on mortal earth, where he was taken in by villagers. When he was 5, a demon accidentally stumbled into the small mountain village and slaughtered everyone. Only Benjamin survived thanks to the protective talisman left behind by the immortal masters. Fortuitously, my master passed through the village and noticed Benjamin's extraordinary constitution. He brought him back to the sect, then handed him over to me like always. When he first joined the sect, he was just a little cold-faced lump, constantly clutching his sword in silence. never cried, never laughed, wouldn't respond when spoken to. I felt sorry for him back then, thinking it was trauma from losing his family. So I kept him close, teaching him bit by bit how others should speak and behave, how to interact with people. When did my pity turn into envy? Probably when I realized he could master sword techniques with ease, while I had to practice 100 times. Even 1,000 still never caught up. My eyes grew colder bit by bit. Just then, Benjamin, standing in the center of the crowd, looked up and met my gaze. He walked over, stopped right in front of me, and lowered his head to say, "Senior brother." My heart clenched sharply. The memory of dying at his blade last lifetime flashed before my eyes, and a familiar ache tore through my chest again. I forced a concerned expression and asked, "Did you get hurt anywhere?" Benjamin shook his head and handed me a small chi pocket. I took it and opened it up. Inside was a whole, intact dragon corpse. It hit me then. This was exactly how Benjamin used to hand over every single reward he brought back from missions. Back then, he was actually quite endearing. He'd stay right behind me in the sect, doing whatever I said, and after every mission, he'd hand everything he'd brought back to me, like a loyal little dog. But he wouldn't always be this helpless little pup. I took a breath to steady myself, then looked at him again. Benjamin still had his hand outstretched, and my eyes landed on the uneven cuts across his palm. I frowned slightly. "Why didn't you say you were hurt? Let your second sister apply the medicine for you." Benjamin blinked, then pulled his hand back and tucked it behind his back. "I still have a few more orders to finish brewing." My younger sister waved her hand dismissively, shoving a jar of ointment into my grip. "Brother, you go ahead and treat his wound." Back in my previous life, I'd have rushed to tend to Benjamin's wounds the moment I saw them. But now, just being near him made spite bubble up inside me. I hated him, and I hated myself for becoming this way. I tossed the ointment and the pouch containing the dragon serpent into Benjamin's arms, forcing a smile. "I need to discuss the upcoming intersect tournament with the elders. I'll leave your wound for you to handle." Benjamin lowered his gaze at the 2 items I'd thrown into his arms, pressed his lips together, and said nothing. Even though it was just a quick excuse I came up with, I ended up stepping in for my master, who'd gone off on another journey, and started discussing the upcoming intersect tournament with the elders. The grand intersect competition happens every 10 years at the top-tier sect, Shentian sect. Our Qinghua sect is just a minor branch with only 3 spots to send, and those have already been decided. Me, Benjamin, and third sister, all direct disciples. The only thing left to sort out was who would be going along as support. When the meeting ended, I made the final call on the 2 elders and 20 intersect disciples who would be accompanying us. By the time I got back to my courtyard, it was already twilight. I bent over my desk writing a letter to my master, who was traveling far away, and ended up falling asleep with my head on the table without realizing it. "I miss you so much." In the darkness, a pair of hands cupped my face and pulled me tightly into an embrace. "I miss you. I miss you so much." Tears fell onto my shoulder, the voice thick with restrained sorrow. I jolted awake all at once. The sky outside was bright with daylight, and I was lying on my bed in the inner chamber. I sat up, unfastened my robes, and glanced at my chest. My body was completely clean, no trace of anything. My expression flickered between confusion and unease. Was yesterday's dream really just a dream? I felt like I'd forgotten something important, but couldn't remember what it was. So I got up, changed into fresh clothes, and cast several cleansing spells in quick succession. I grumbled as I yanked open the courtyard gate, and Benjamin's strikingly beautiful, expressionless face popped right into view. I startled back a step, barely keeping my composure. "For heaven's sake, what kind of gatekeeper are you, standing here first thing in the morning?" Thinking back on yesterday's dream, even though I knew Benjamin wouldn't really do that to me, I still secretly glanced him over. That voice in the dream was definitely Benjamin's. Only deeper, older. Was it because I'm still scared of the Benjamin from my past life that I had such a nightmare? Looking at this version of Benjamin right now, I can't help but think, someday he'll grow into the one I'm afraid of. There was no hint of anything unusual on Benjamin's face. Seeing me silent, he held his sword and asked with a faint frown, "Senior brother?" I took another half step back, then smoothly put on a smile. "I've got something to take care of. You don't need to follow me these past few days." Go train at the martial arts arena instead. Benjamin lowered his eyes, looking slightly downcast, but when I looked closer, he was once again perfectly blank-faced. He nodded and obediently turned to walk away. With the intersect competition just 7 days away, I made sure to avoid any one-on-one time with Benjamin. Yet, that absurd dream didn't fade. It grew clearer and longer every day. Benjamin still acted as if he knew nothing, maybe without my interference. His cultivation had advanced even faster than last time. His current breakthrough from initial golden core to middle golden core in just 2 days, where he'd only reached the first stage back then. I had a nagging sense that something was off, though I couldn't put my finger on it. On the day we set out for the Shentian Sect tournament, I gathered all the inner disciples accompanying us and went over every detail with them, carefully and thoroughly. Third sister was being coached by her second sister off to the side, who kept shoving one pill bottle after another into her arms. Benjamin stood at the edge of the crowd. When I didn't call him over, he just stayed still where he was. I called a few young disciples who looked flustered and had their clothes slightly disheveled to come forward. They gathered around me, and I reached out to straighten their robes for them. Benjamin stood nearby, quietly tugging at the edge of his sleeve. That's when I pretended to just notice him and called out, "Benjamin, come over." Sometimes I even thought I was cruel. Since I couldn't mess with the older Benjamin, I'd pick on this younger version instead. Benjamin quickly looked up and hurried over to my side. I asked him, "Have you memorized the competition rules?" Benjamin nodded obediently. "Then I won't go over them again," I said, meeting his eyes with a soft smile in mine. "Just make sure to get to know a few people during the event. After all, his future wife, the one who'll ascend to godhood alongside him, is right here among these competitors." The flying vessel carried our group of 20-odd people to the Shen sect, where we were greeted and assigned to a mountain peak along with disciples from several other minor sects. As soon as we stepped inside, I spotted a familiar figure in the distance. A slender female cultivator dressed in plain white robes stood pale and frail, her back bearing a long zither. Clearly someone from the Celestial Melody Pavilion, specializing in sound cultivation. I started walking toward her, with Benjamin following silently behind me, expression unreadable. "Olivia, it's been a long time." I greeted her, my mind swirling with mixed feelings. Olivia and I were close friends in our previous life. She was the daughter of the Heavenly Sound Pavilion's master, but had been frail since childhood. Her mother, the pavilion's leader, thought she was useless and forced her to pick a younger sister from within the sect to support. Someone who could take over as the next head. Reluctantly, Olivia chose the most unassuming disciple, but that quiet girl turned out to have an extraordinary talent, quickly rising above everyone else, leaving Olivia overshadowed in her own shadow. According to the ancient scripture, she couldn't bear it and eventually confronted her sister, only to have her cultivation stripped and be expelled from the sect, dying later at the jaws of a demonic beast. And that younger sister, she's the one who ascended to godhood alongside Benjamin. "Yeah, Liam." She met my gaze, then glanced at Benjamin behind me, hesitating before speaking. She seemed about to say something when a cloak slipped over her shoulders from behind. A strikingly beautiful girl stepped out beside her. "Why are you standing right in the wind again, sister? What kind of person would make you ignore your own health just to wait here?" Olivia paused for a moment, then gestured toward us. "Sophia, this is Liam Sr. from Qingyue sect, and his younger brother, Benjamin." I looked at Olivia and her icy-eyed sister beside her, and for once, it was my turn to have words stuck in my throat. Olivia turned to her younger sister. "You've always wanted to blend sword techniques into your music, haven't you? Benjamin here is quite skilled with the blade. Why don't you ask him for some guidance?" I quickly added to Benjamin, "Go on, you two are about the same age. Sophia's also a top talent in her sect. Get to know each other, share your cultivation insights." Benjamin shifted closer to me, clearly showing he wasn't keen on the idea. I acted as if I didn't notice and gave him a subtle push from behind. Finally, after sending the two off, Olivia and I found an empty little pavilion, and both raised our hands to cast a soundproof spell. We locked eyes and spoke at almost the same time. "Are you? You are too." After years of friendship, we instantly understood each other's meaning. This meant we'd both come back after dying. After sharing our stories, Olivia finally opened up to me. "I'm planning to run away. I'm afraid I won't be able to hold back my urge to hurt Sophia if I stay near her again." Just like what happened in the last life. What about you? What do you think? I paused for a moment, realizing there was no way I could ever beat Benjamin. So walking away really did seem like the smart move. I looked up and asked her, "What's your plan?" Remember how a group of demons crashed the secret realm treasure hunt during the last great sect competition? I'm planning to pretend I've been taken by them while the chaos is at its peak, Olivia said. I nodded and suggested, "Back in my past life, I learned a spell to change our appearances. After we escape, why not kill a few demons and take on their looks? We could fake our deaths and vanish without worrying about anyone coming after us." Back in your past life. Olivia seemed to hesitate, then said, "Did you use that spell when you died at Benjamin's hands?" I gave a quiet hum, not sure why she was asking. "In my past life, I died a little later than you did. I heard that after your death, the spell wore off. Benjamin saw your body, and then I felt uneasy. What happened to him? He lost his mind." I was sitting in the guest room prepared by Shen's sect, Olivia's voice still echoing in my mind. "They say not a single demon survived that day on the battlefield. After Benjamin came out, he lost his mind. I know you went to the battlefield after your death, hoping to retrieve your body. Searched everywhere but couldn't find a trace of you. I knew this part was in the ancient scripture. Benjamin lost his senses on the battlefield. Then the heroine awakened him. After that, he seemed to go on a rampage. His cultivation soared, and nothing could stop him. So that trigger was my death all along. My death was just a stepping stone for Benjamin to grow stronger." My mood turned really dark all of a sudden. The more I thought about it, the angrier I got. I sent a message through the Whisper Stone and walked into the courtyard with my sword drawn. Benjamin arrived faster than I expected. Almost the very next second after I sent the message, he pushed open the courtyard door. I didn't question why he was standing outside my courtyard. Just said, "Come train with me." As soon as the words left my mouth, a shimmering white sword light spilled across the space. Benjamin probably sensed I wasn't in a good mood, so he just went through the motions of blocking my strikes. I found it boring again and quickly stepped back, stopping too abruptly and nearly stumbling. "Brother?" Benjamin reached out to steady me. I yanked my hand away in irritation and snapped, "Get lost." Benjamin just stared at me, his face filled with confusion and a quiet hurt. My chest tightened. Still, I forced my expression cold as I shut the door behind me. "Forget it. He's not some kid who needs you to tell him what's right or wrong, or how to practice, complete missions, or get along with others anymore. He doesn't need you. Think about what the heavenly book says about his fate after leaving you. He actually ended up better off." The leftover anger flared up again in my chest, and I lay down on the bed, forcing myself to shut my eyes. Senior brother. A pair of hands tightly wrapped around my waist, pulling me into a close embrace. It was that familiar dream again. He buried his face in my shoulder, whispering with a hint of hurt, "Help me, don't let anyone else." His voice was stifled and choked, tears soaking through my robe. The dream lasted all night, and the next day, my dark mood sent my third sister running away. She'd been planning to share some Shention sect gossip with me. I adjusted my mindset and forced a faint smile. "Let's go." I assigned the disciples who followed us to the viewing area, then entered the competition realm with Benjamin and my third sister. The rule of the interschool tournament was to enter the spirit realm, slay demon beasts to earn points, and rank by total score. Back then, everyone had their eyes on the prodigies from the major sects, but in the end, Benjamin ended up winning it all. After Rebirth, I read a few similar stories, and this kind of plot, underestimated at first, then crushing everyone later, is just as classic as the trope where a medicinal remedy always finds its destined love interest. My attention wasn't on that though. I was keeping a close eye on the southeast corner of the spirit realm, where the demons had emerged in my previous life. Not long after, thick dark magic surged from the southeast, and high above, a demon general appeared with his troops close by. This wasn't something we could handle. We weren't even in the same league. He'd come here specifically to wipe out the next generation of cultivators. The competitors inside the spirit realm wisely scattered and ran for their lives. I'd already positioned my third sister near the Celestial Melody Pavilion, and now I caught Olivia's eye from afar. She grabbed the third sister's hand and dashed off, Without a word, I took Benjamin's hand and ran in any direction we could. I knew this demon general would track Benjamin down, and that when pushed to the edge, Benjamin would awaken his hidden power, slay the demon, and advance further in cultivation. After running for who knows how long, we finally slipped into a narrow cave. Shoo! The cave was too tight, so I pulled Benjamin close and held him in my arms while I kept an ear out for any noise outside. Benjamin wrapped his arms around my waist, not showing any fear, but still burying his face into the curve of my neck. Footsteps echoed from outside the cave. The demon general was coming. I gently patted Benjamin's back and whispered in his ear, "Don't be afraid. You'll make it." A brief immobilization spell hit Benjamin instantly, giving me the chance to push him aside and dash out of the cave. Benjamin watched in silence as the demon general vanished into the darkness, chasing after me. The black mist swallowed my figure whole. That evening, I met up with Olivia just outside a small town near the Shen sect. In a hidden mountain cave, she pulled 2 corpses of demon cultivators out of her storage pouch. I cast a spell to transform the appearances of the 2 bodies to match mine and hers. All we need to do now is lure someone from the Shen sect here to find our bodies. Olivia nodded, about to pose as a wandering cultivator and send a message to the Shen sect, when a golden page suddenly slapped her hand with a sharp snap. "No transmitting." A golden book abruptly leapt out. "Do you want to destroy the world?" The scripture. Olivia and I both looked at it, puzzled. "You two are not allowed to fake your deaths. Especially not if the main couple finds out you're dead." The scripture hovered in midair. Flustered. "I can't believe this. I'm serious. One of you is a wicked secondary villainess, the other a disposable side character. One mistreats the heroine, the other coldly ignores the hero. Yet after dying, you both ended up driving my main characters to darkness. According to the scripture, in the previous life, after we died, Benjamin and Sophia completely veered off course. It had no choice but to lie to them, saying they'd be revived if only they completed their arcs. But when the main couple rapidly slaughtered through the demon clans on their way to godhood, it accidentally slipped, only for them to threaten total world destruction unless everything was reset. You think you still remember things just so you'd be more careful avoiding the main couple and not go killing yourselves. That's why your memories were restored. The scripture sounded furious. If that doesn't work, I can always restore the main character's memories too. Take it easy. I tried to calm it down. I don't think we're really all that important. You're absolutely not important. Just slightly less disposable than background extras. The scripture sounded condescending. If that's the case, then whether we live or die probably won't change anything. Maybe you were wrong last time, Olivia said. Neither of us thought we mattered all that much. I'm not wrong. The book shouted like a toddler just gaining awareness, stubborn and defiant. It's all your fault. I'll have the main characters come after you. With that, it vanished without giving us even a second to plead. Thinking of Benjamin from the last life sent a chill down my spine, and my face went pale for a moment. Last time around, I'd been caught by Benjamin once after I tried to escape, the feeling of being watched and controlled every second of the day. There's no way I'm ever going through that again. And even though everyone else refused to believe me, I knew back then he was a little off. He'd fuss over my meals and clothes like a parent watching over a child, handling everything down to the smallest detail. But at the same time, he'd come seeking comfort, leaning his head on my shoulder just like when I was little, quietly listening to my heartbeat. He wanted me close, yet still craved more. I was constantly on edge, but everyone else thought he was perfectly normal. Like only I could see the madness hidden beneath his cold exterior. So when Olivia said he was crazy, I believed her right away. Olivia's expression wasn't any better than mine. We couldn't stay here any longer. Olivia and I locked eyes, then bolted in opposite directions. "Well, Liam, I'm handing this kid over to you." The old traveler grinned as he nudged the expressionless child toward me. Still just a boy myself, I crouched down, wiping away grime and blood from the child's face with my handkerchief. Then I scolded the old man over my shoulder before lifting the kid into my arms and slowly walking up the hill. "Benjamin, you should answer your senior siblings properly when they speak to you, okay?" I said sternly, looking at him. "Seniors like polite kids." Little Benjamin pressed his lips together, afraid I'd get mad, and gave a quiet nod. "Congratulations on your first solo mission going perfectly. What's this, a gift for your older brother?" I ruffled Benjamin's hair and said, "Good boy. Why would the master pass on the leadership to you? Why can't I ever catch up to you?" I glared at him with hatred, shoving him hard toward the door. "Get out, brother." Benjamin held me motionless on the battlefield. His face pressed against mine as hot tears spilled onto my cheek. It was his first time crying. Overwhelming sorrow flooded a body that shouldn't have felt emotion at all. I opened my eyes, waking up from a dream. I was still lying in the guesthouse room I'd casually picked out before bed. Benjamin seated by my bedside, staring at me without blinking. Both small and large ones are in this lifeless state. I let out a resigned sigh and stayed lying in bed. "Do whatever you want. Kill me or torture me. It's up to you." Benjamin slowly lowered his head until his forehead rested against the back of my hand. "Brother promised he'd never leave me," he mumbled, voice thick with sadness. "That was after I fled and got caught by Benjamin. To escape, I not only lied about never leaving him, but even became his spiritual partner. Then, while he was preparing for the wedding, I came up with all sorts of impossible demands to drive him away. Just enough to slip out safely. The heart-testing flower from the peak of North Mountain, the moondrop pearl from the southernmost tip of the South Sea, the drifting light thread from the edge of the sky. Benjamin held my hand tightly. "I've gotten every single one. Is there anything else brother wants?" Benjamin asked, guiding my hand to his neck. "Do you want my life? What are you even doing?" I yanked my hand back and pushed myself up into a sitting position. "If one of us has to die, then kill me," Benjamin said, staring at me as tears slid down his face like they had in my dream. "I can't bear to watch you die again." My chest tightened. I reached up and roughly wiped 2 quick strokes across his face. "Don't cry." Maybe it was comfort, but Benjamin started crying even harder. "You little brat, you're so annoying." I reached out and pulled his head into my arms. "I really did everything I could for you. Why don't you still want me?" Benjamin's voice was soft and muffled against my chest, a faint catch in his throat. My heart twisted. "All right, stop crying. I didn't say I wouldn't accept you. Are you really not lying this time?" Benjamin looked up, his eyes red and his lashes damp with tears, looking utterly heartbreakingly sweet. "Even if you lie to me, it's okay." I cupped his face, gently wiping away the tears with my sleeve. "How come you're suddenly so good at saying things like this?" "Because after you left, I thought about it for a long time," Benjamin said, wrapping his arms around me softly. "Really long." I let him hold on for a moment before asking, "When did you get your memories back?" Benjamin froze for just an instant, then decided to be honest. Sometimes I fully remember things at night." I narrowed my eyes slightly and asked again, "Did you manipulate my dreams?" I'd been wondering about it before. "I fell asleep at the desk during my first dream, but when I woke up, I was already in bed. Since I usually wake up on the bed, I didn't realize something was off right away." Benjamin looked away. "You weren't talking to me back then. I thought you didn't want me anymore, so I got a little upset. Those dreams were so vivid. Did you do something to me in your past life?" I asked, staring at him with suspicion. Benjamin hesitated, giving no clear answer. "From now on, you're not allowed to do anything like that without my permission." "Got it," I said, playing the serious face. Benjamin looked straight into my eyes and mumbled, "As long as my brother doesn't leave me, I'll do whatever you say." My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly turned my gaze aside, feeling slightly guilty. "It's okay," Benjamin said, taking my hand and resting his head on my shoulder. "Wherever you go, I'll follow." I ran into Olivia again at her wedding to her younger sister. I made up an excuse to send Benjamin and Sophia away. Then I slipped into a quiet room with her in hopes of summoning the Book of Heaven. "See, now you finally realize I wasn't wrong this time," the book bragged as it bounced out. "The main character's turning dark last life was all your fault." All right, you're right. We were the ones who misunderstood you." Olivia soothed the book while I quickly flipped through its pages. The main storyline hadn't changed. Get stronger, kill the demon lord, ascend to godhood. But there were some changes. All of Benjamin's romantic encounters along the way now had my name instead. And every time Sophia appeared, Olivia was always by her side. I let out a breath. I was relieved at least Benjamin's fate to become a god hadn't changed. Sometimes I couldn't even understand myself. hating Benjamin, yet feeling glad his path wasn't cut short because of me. Probably because I knew the final outcome. I started letting Benjamin get away with his occasional boldness and eventually agreed to reforge our spiritual bond. It wouldn't be until much later that I'd realize just how deep that promise, "I'll follow you wherever you go," really was.